Guys, I'm doing a rear strut change on a 2005 Pontiac Sunfire. You can locate the top of the rear strut towers inside your trunk. There's one stud on the strut and 2 bolts. Jack your car up, take the tire off, locate your strut, locate the bottom mount. That is a 19 millimeter bolt. Come up to the top, you have an 11 millimeter bolt there, an 11 millimeter bolt there. Put your impact or socket wrench on there with a extension and break away. Take those 2 out. Come up to the top. Take your stud nut all the way down to the bottom, not quite off. Come down here, loosen that guy right there, all the way out. And while you're holding this with one hand, reach around, unthread that nut. Where are we here? Unthread the final few threads of that nut there, and it'll drop down, and with your other hand you'll be catching it inside the wheel well. Now the way it all goes back together is exactly the same, except for exactly the opposite. It's reverse engineered, and I'll show you. You'll come over to your side that has no strut. You'll take your new strut, you'll locate the stud on it, you'll put it at the back and thread it up through the hole. And once you do that, I mean, it's tricky guys, it'll take you 3 to 5 minutes. Once you do that, just rest this part here up on the edge here so the strut doesn't drop back down on you. Come up to the top, throw your nut on the stud. And depending on the nut that you have, it may just say thread 3/4 of the way into the nut and then stop there. Being a locking nut, that's fine. You can just do that, leave it alone. Come back down. Take these 11 mil bolts you removed earlier, and you'll reinsert them back up into the top. And at this point, you take this guy, and if it's a little twisted on you, you twist it the way you need it to go into the mount. You stick it down, you take your 19 millimeter sorry guys, 19 millimeter carriage bolt or however you want to describe it. You put it back through there and you tighten it as hard as you physically can. I just went full out with the impact, and that I'm more than confident is enough. I've changed the front struts on my car, and that's how I put them back in, and that was the torque I put them to. It's just a little 4 amp, 3.5 amp impact from Canadian Tire. So once you got all that back in together, come back on here. This guy here is a 13 millimeter. I should have mentioned that earlier. The stud nut is a 13 mil, and you'll put that onto the stud nut and tighten her the rest of the way down until she's torque tight. Alright guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. This will work for a 2005 Cavalier, I believe back to 99 when they started producing them, 98, somewhere in there. Maybe it's 96 when they started producing the Cavalier and Sunfire, which, I mean, the struts and everything other than the engine is pretty much the same. It pretty much generally works on all struts with all vehicles. They have 3 bolts in the top of them and 1 bolt that holds them in the bottom and the rear. And in the front, usually you have 2 bolts going through into the spindle behind the brake caliper and wheel bearing. Alright guys, I really do hope this helped you out in your everyday tinkering around with getting your cars fixed. Have a great day guys.